Uh, yeah, just loading. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Uh, oops. Share screen. Hmm. It does, right? Okay, you can see my screen. Okay, view tabs. See if I can make it a big view and slideshow. Okay, yeah, looks like I can. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Excited to be here and present my thoughts and research and ideas and what's happening in this field. Great to see so many folks interested in this field, as it's one of the uh, progressing ones where we see a lot of changes almost every other day, and there's a lot of things to keep track. I try to summarize at a very high level on what's going on, along with the basics and what's the cutting edge. And then, if anyone has questions, they can reach out to me on Discord or on chat. but the goal is to get some high level information sharing here, and so that folks could do interesting hackathon projects and then build upon it, either some real world apps or something that could be useful for everyone. So let me get uh, going. So, to introduce myself, I'm Sai, machine learning manager at Adobe, and I work on generative AI applications. And there's a lot of interesting uh, applications that are currently being done across uh, entire industry and several industries. And thanks to the ChatGPT, it's become a lot more popular even across the B2C, or more like the average consumers who could just instead of asking in Google, they could also ask the same question in a chat interface and could get a much better composed answer. And from there, there's several uh, interesting advancements, both in the text as well as the image, and more recently around audio and video. So I would try to give a brief intro into what's happening, and then how we could leverage this to build interesting applications, and then what are the challenges that big companies are facing, and what are the opportunities for young students and young entrepreneurs who are venturing into this field. So let me start with defining what generative AI means for folks who are new to this. AI is probably termed 100 years ago by few scientists, computer scientists, who are trying to create a system that could think of its own at a very rudimentary level. But now generative AI is more like, hey, it's not just things on its own, but it could also generate stuff on its own. And that's where we see a lot of new images that were never existed before, and similarly the new text and new poetries or new authoring that was never seen before. It could seem as something super creative that previously only artists or poets might have written, but now AI being able to learn the essence of behind it, was able to do a lot of it. And related to that, we have the creative coding, which could mean a lot of things in this sense. Like, for example, anything creative, whether it be drawing and images, or putting a lot of videos, creating from scratch, all the influencer content that a lot of folks are generating, and drawing images. Everything could come under creative coding, especially because it deals with a lot of imagination that could come from a human drawing an image, or writing a story, etc. So, given the context here is mostly around what kind of machine learning models are needed in creative contexts. So, let me introduce to where there a huge majority of the shift happened over the last 10-20 years. In 2012, when there was a big architecture released around AlexNet, then a lot more interest went into running these on large data sets like ImageNet, where they were significantly able to improve the accuracy of classifying an images, probably almost close enough to a human level. And then since then, over the last uh, 2012 to 2015, 2017, there were so many improvements around attention, how to identify the important parts in an image that are contributing to this classification, and then how to identify the same in a text, and how to do a translation between two different languages, and so on. And while all of these are happening, there was lots of minor and majority improvements until in 2017 there was a transformational paper, uh, pun intended. So, and the paper's name was "Attention is All You Need," and it was about a new architecture that can handle data at scale and is parallel, and was giving extremely good accuracy. Once the paper was out, there was so much of interest and commotion around what could potentially be done with that. So a lot of research, both within big companies and in startups, tried to use and leverage that architecture for uh, training more and more large data sets, preferably the entire internet, consisting of all the stories, all the text, all the Reddit stories, and everything that's available for training. And it went into these huge GPUs, which would do a lot of training leveraging these transformers, and then produce a version of GPTs, like pre-trained models that like started with GPT 1, 2, and 3 until 3.5. There was a good amount of interest in the research. It's just that the data or the model wasn't sufficiently accurate enough to put into production. But with the GPT 3.5, when the ChatGPT came out, it was extremely good enough for most folks to either write their product articles or even finish their work or ask any question that they really actually found it to be useful for wide variety of use cases across the industry. That's on the text end. Similarly, on the image end, there were lots of uh, improvements and releases like Midjourney and Dolly and Stability Diffusion. So many of these companies and models have created a lot of spark on how these images could be generated from just through AI by giving just some prompt and again training on huge data sets of uh, images that are available on the internet. Let's quickly go through some algorithmic art and design for implementing these. So, so the AI models in creative coding that were mostly used is GANs. GANs were available again mostly in the last one decade. The idea behind the generative adversarial networks is you would try to train two models together, one which is trying to fool the other, while the original one is trying to be good at not getting fooled. There over where we are generating adversarial images, and then the model is trying to be good at it. After a point, they both are in an equilibrium where this model would be able to generate any image based on the original characteristics. So GANs became extremely popular in generating images uh, until there were new models like diffusion models. The diffusion models have become extremely scalable, mostly because they try to follow the process of diffusion, like everyone knows in chemistry, where you try, when there is a liquid, it tries to spread everywhere. Uh, the process of diffusion is the same in these models, where we try to introduce a noise into an image and produce uh, a complete noise image from the original input, and then we try to learn back the function around the noise so that you could reproduce the original image, which could help you create any set of images or learn the weights behind these class of images. In the real world, people use a combination of diffusion models and GANs. However, with the latest research, transformers are able to handle all kinds of images, either it be all kinds of multi-model inputs, whether it be text, images, or video, and hence they are extremely powerful. So some of the applications around the creative coding are mostly around visual art generation, which is what Midjourney or Dolly were famous for at the beginning, where they used to produce very creative images just from the prompts. And this is could be incredibly helpful for artists who are either generating images for various occasions or marketing events or for some kind of information, knowledge sharing, or even for any kind of visual image representation. Usually, folks would have had to use a lot of tools and hand draw it or spend a lot of effort uh, learning through a tool, which used to be a very time-taking and hardworking task. But the goal is just by providing appropriate text or prompts, folks would be able to visually generate any kind of images as complex as mm, and sometimes abstract. Like you could add multiple dimensions and multiple complexities to generate an image, which is usually either not seen in real world and sometimes couldn't even be uh, thought about. So that's one application of visual art. Uh, it could be used in creative settings as well as professional settings, where it could be useful to represent information and knowledge through an art. The second one is the music composition. Music is and historically has always been considered very creative because it involves a lot of variations and at the end has to be aesthetically pleasing to the human. So, so it used to either involve a lot of uh, back and forth experiments from the creator to figure out which one sounds good and pleasing. But however, some of the musical composition could be converted into a series of waves so that you could break down or decompose this into some signals that could go into a neural network, and then you could generate similar audio depending on some parameters, which could either smoothen the current music that a current creator does, or can even create something completely from scratch. For example, we have seen there's a lot of new fake videos or fake audios, music ones that come from a virtual avatar, which is not a real person singing, because it's using the music composition uh, based on all the historical music that particular creator has created, and then it generates something completely new from scratch. So, there are several other multi-model applications. Similarly, even for gaming, gaming is one of the most uh, 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 growing industries, even bigger than movie industry. And however, there's a lot of effort that goes into creating these games, which sometimes is a matter of 2 to 5 years. And for creating all the sequence of stuff in these games, it takes a lot of effort. In order to produce this, it takes incredible amount of hard work, which could be made easier by deriving these procedural content and having one by one steps so that the games could be generated. So there's plenty of tools and frameworks that have been created over the past 10 years. Earlier, back in 2014, there was only something like uh, a very old Theano or OpenCV, which was made by computer vision researchers. But after that, because there was so much improvements and advances that were made in these deep learning frameworks, TensorFlow and PyTorch were the top ones that have come up. TensorFlow was mainly supported and developed within Google, but it's one of the top uh, programming frameworks for building and working on top of these deep learnings. And PyTorch is mostly maintained by Facebook or Meta and is one of the top uh, or probably the top one that's being used across the industry, mostly because it's written in Python and it's very programmer friendly, and it has the right abstractions for research and quickly to iterate. Other frameworks are mostly around the ones written in JavaScript. This is helpful mostly because if there are few programs that you want to run within the browser, then it would be really helpful to have something around JavaScript. Similarly, JAX is one more application again maintained by Google, which is also useful for having all these uh, readily available so that you could run on the browser end. So, some of the techniques that were prominently used initially by researchers and now by the industry are one, the style transfer. For example, let's say I want to draw a painting of my own ideas, but if I want that idea, if I want that painting to look like someone from Van Gogh or Da Vinci style, then style transfer is one of the easiest ways to do. So what basically does is it learns the features or more like the aspects of the style from that image and tries to transfer these style features into my own painting so that the style transfer the style from another famous painter could be visible here. So one way again it's done is some kind of uh, transfer learning where you would have to pick your new style images that you are copying from, and then you would learn some of those features and then put the same features, apply those same features on your current image so that it transfers the entire style. So this is has been popular, especially the last few years, because of the GANs and the ability to transfer. There's a lot of new, interesting imagery that could be used everywhere. The text to image generation is currently the most popular one, as we see even in Dolly or ChatGPT or Midjourney, where you could just ask anything uh, in text, and then it could produce an image that could represent the text in a most appropriate way. For example, an avocado flying in the air, or something as creative as president in Mars, or anything that could be abstract, or anything that is actually helpful for the users to understand the entire text. So many of those complex things could be quickly represented in an image. And this is very powerful again for the same reasons, because it could be used to not only explain the content, but also help market, sell, or increase the uh, appeal of the content that you are trying to create. And currently, for all the photo softwares or all the image softwares that are out in the world, uh, yeah, text to image generation is going to be a very useful feature, because instead of someone spending hours editing the images, they could use text to image to either create something from scratch or make some adjustments to the current images. The latent space exploration is something similar, where we are trying to get some abstract features from some of these images and trying to understand what exactly is this image trying to say, and whether we could take these complex features from these images and represent it in some other new images. So there's been a lot of interest, as well as uh, comments from the entire human world, whether advancements in AI could potentially cause in the lose of in the job losses, or even in the way the world works, or in some jobs being disappeared. So while some of these concerns are valid, the improvement in technology has mostly always led to ease of human life, or ease of getting things done, and sometimes mostly augmenting the human capabilities. For example, most of the tools or power tools that we use around in everyday uh, replaced all the manual tools which used to take multiple days and multiple human hard work, and now that could be done by either one or zero humans. So, for similarly, for creating some of these artistic images, either for professional use or personal use, these AI tools would significantly reduce the amount of effort to bring this to life. One way of doing this is collaborating between the AI and human artists. This is more like having an AI in the loop. Whenever a particular image needs to be created, then the human needs to give appropriate prompts to get an image that's close to 80 to 90% ready. And then the artist would go ahead and make some final touches, which based on his historical knowledge or the domain knowledge or the custom knowledge, they could make these changes that is satisfactory to everyone. Similarly, curating and refining AI outputs. Uh, this is where, again, the artist needs to use their judgment call because not all the outputs from the AI could be good enough to be used in the real settings. So they still have to curate and refine these AI outputs until the quality is sufficiently high. And finally, the ethical considerations in AI art. Given that uh, some of the uh, some of the images or text has been trained on the copyrighted content, which could be the hard work of several artists or text. Appropriate measures need to be taken into place when training takes place, so that you are giving appropriate credit or at least getting the consent from the artists or the content owners that their content is being used for training, uh, so that there would not be any unfair way of uh, uh, dealing with the data, or the end users would not feel that their work is not being valued enough by the AI. So these are some of the considerations that you have to keep in mind when building a new AI model, or even selling a new AI model, on where you have obtained the data from, whether it's ethically sourced and responsibly used, and whether the outputs have any bias that it is taken care of, so that it doesn't have any bad repercussions, such as the artistic backlash, uh, or maybe the output is severely biased that it's not uh, usable for many of the day-to-day use cases. There are some challenges for implementing these models, which some of them I briefly described, but we can go in detail here. One is the technical limitations. The technical limitations are still they have been going away slowly, mostly because of the progress of the research and the number of people working on it. However, there are still a lot of limitations in terms of the scale, in terms of what we could learn. And for example, if I have to create an entire video from scratch, like a Lord of the Rings movie, it still takes incredible amount of compute to generate a sequence of images that are coherent and make sense and meaningful. Currently, neither do we have the compute nor do we have the algorithms to achieve something of that scale. Because of that, we still are making some slow progress around generating a very complex video that could be good enough used for consumption. The other technical limitations are like currently there's very few people in the world who could uh, run these GPUs at scale and also tune them and make sure that the models converge at scale. So some of these technical limitations, which still need huge amount of data, huge amount of compute, as well as extremely large GPUs to run it at scale, are some of the technical limitations which makes it difficult for everyone to learn something from scratch. Instead, the current alternative is to figure out how to make it work until the industry moves on to produce smaller models that are achievable for everyone. The originality and authorship debates goes back to what I said. There's a lot of deep fakes that could currently be produced either on Twitter or any other social platform where anyone who has access to these AI frameworks could just create a fake image or a controversial image, and then or people could steal somebody's work by just creating a clone of the original image with slight changes, because of which we there could be a lot of originality and authorship debates that could keep coming, and your model has to consider that. Some of the ways people are considering answering this is through uh, more like having a content authenticity, where you would some kind of watermark every single image to the original creator, so that even if the image is uh, changed multiple times, then you would still have the watermark of the original author. And balancing automation and human creativity, as we see a lot of startups are creating these avatars like Hagen, or even in TikTok, they could say like you could just upload few pictures of yours or few videos of yours, and they would generate a completely new video with any content that you would like, even with any tone. So while this is nice, and while the technology is catching up or extremely becoming accessible to create this video that looks exactly like ours, we the challenge is that once if it's made, then there's no way for the audience or the consumers of these content like TikTok videos to know whether it's authentic or whether it's fake. So you have to make sure that you are balancing something between automation and human creativity, so that the consumers at the end would still appreciate the content without having to feel like it's AI generated and lacks uh, authenticity. So human creativity should still be in the loop. There are a lot of case studies around combining AI and creative coding, and there's some artist perspectives and methodologies on how to do it. Like I mentioned, uh, Dali and Midjourney are some of these projects which are helping artists create, or even markets or companies create images, uh, or even creative content at a much faster pace compared to what they used to have done with humans. So, for the future trends, mostly it is going to be real-time generative performances. For example, currently, while the image generation from the text is extremely fast enough, however, if we have to do something much more complex content like videos, they have to go and create uh, a lot of sequence of images, and every even a 10-second or a 1 minute video takes an extremely long extreme amount of time to create, along with a lot of compute resources. So the goal is to in the future create these images or videos much faster, so that we have uh, real-time content that could be created. And the AI assisted creative workflows. Currently, we see a lot of companies are working on agents. Agents are just a series of actions that are executed by your AI assistant, instead of you either approving or giving more clarifying questions after every small module of the task. Instead, the goal is, if you have something like, hey, book an entire journey for me uh, from so and so dates, then we expect the AI agent to uh, figure out on its own where we are interested to go and book the tickets and the hotels and everything related to the itinerary, so that you don't have to put a lot of effort into executing the multiple step in its way. So these AI agents are next best thing, or the big thing that most companies and the industry are working on, because it helps the artist to do everything end to end without having to manually wait for a particular process to end, or clicking doing a lot of clicks, or even in learning a complex tool, this could be helpful because it automatically does something, and all you have to do is whether you have to modify it in a bit, which takes a lot less effort and knowledge. And finally, advancements in interpretable AI for arts. Uh, Given that most of the content generation that's happening through generative AI or any large language models is mostly uh, black boxy, as in there's no way to understand why a particular content is generated. There's a lot of focus on interpretability, so that when we ask a particular question and if we get a particular answer, then we want to know what part of the question triggered this particular answer, so that either we could change the question or the change the context around it, so that we have a better control and understanding uh, of the model and its capabilities. So these advancement in interpretable AI, especially for artistic world, is really important because it's the control that makes it more easier in case of human. And if the same control could be passed to AI, then the images drawn by AI would be much more similar to the human. So, yeah, so I would say that there's a lot of learning resources such as deeplearning.ai and for free available on internet for anyone trying to get into this space or even building for hackathon or expanding their knowledge. I very much encourage learning through these online resources, and also participating in hackathons such as these and community events would really help in learning from others or helping others, and overall progressing the field while also deriving a lot of knowledge. I think that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions in the chat so that I could answer. Mm, I'll give a couple of minutes if there to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, if you are here for hackathon, any thoughts on where regulations are going with AI? That's an interesting question because there's multiple players and there's multiple vested interests, both from big companies and the open source and the startups uh, who are trying to put the side on their things, as in they are pushing the what makes sense for them. So overall, as a collective audience and benefiters of these technologies, we have to really make sure that the laws being passed should not hamper the progress of AI, but should still be regulated so that it's not misused for anything like deepfakes that could potentially impact the election or any create anything harmful for the society. So the regulations are going to come, but however, there will be a lot of pushback to make sure that this will not hamper the development of AI and the applications of AI across different industries. Similarly, uh, do you think AI will take over artist jobs? I do not think so because it's mostly to augment human creativity, uh, uh, and the artists will mostly use these to create much bigger and much better forms of art. So it's just that earlier, the arts that might have taken probably hours for an artist to get it right would probably take less than few minutes. So an artist could achieve a lot more and get a lot more work done within a short amount of time. So I would see a lot of increase in productivity rather than decrease in the number of jobs. Could AI ever be used in a negative way? Absolutely. Currently, there's in Twitter, I see a lot of folks creating fake images and then propagating it as if it's real, and whether it's whether it be humor or to actually cause sensations. So it could definitely be used in a negative way if the bad actors get hands on it. So regulation helps in some way to prevent these bad incidents. Uh, However, over the last thousands of years, humans have mostly figured out how to use the technology to mostly for the benefit and sometimes implement regulations around the bad stuff. So hopefully, AI could also follow a similar path. Is AI kind of scary to the regular person? It depends on how you treat a new tool as whether it's a scary or a advantage. Uh, it sometimes could seem as magic even to a well-learned person because of the uh, amount of skill set it possesses. Uh, yeah, for someone new, it could really be scary as well as magical. Yeah, the hope is on us that we would look at the positive benefits of it and try to use it as an advantage rather than as something that's uh, harming us. Can I get an AI related job without knowing how to code? Absolutely, you can get an AI related job because there's a lot of abstractions, even code. Learning how to code is getting a lot more commoditized or more like you could learn a few sets of instructions and then it would be able to build a product. So while learning to code, is still a nice thing to have. You could still get uh, uh, AI jobs, as in there's a lot of uh, jobs around building AI products on how to use the user experiences. Because if you have to rethink your experience using only AI, then you have to come from a fresh perspective on how it could be leveraged end to end without doing a lot of clicks or moving around the pages like we do with our old UIs. So there's a lot of potential to do in AI without having to learn a single line of code. But however, a lot of interest and playing around is needed to see the potential. Any other questions? Uh, Looks like there are no more questions, but if there are, please feel free to uh, put a question in Discord and I'm happy to answer. And thanks everyone for joining this meeting and glad to be part of this workshop. Cool. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy hacking. Bye.